Why would a loving God allow pain? Why do good people suffer while the wicked seem to prosper? And if God is truly watching, why does he sometimes remain silent when we are breaking inside? These are not weak questions. They are ancient questions asked by prophets, kings, and broken hearts long before us. Every generation asks this question in its own way. A child asking why their prayer went unanswered. A parent asking why loss came without warning. A believer whispering, "God, where were you?" Suffering is not a modern problem. It did not begin with war, disease, or tragedy in our time. It began the moment humanity stepped into a world where freedom existed, and so did consequences. The Bible never hides suffering. It does not sugarcoat pain. Instead, it places suffering at the center of its most honest stories. And that alone should make us pause. The Bible's answer does not begin with God's cruelty, but with humanity's freedom. From the beginning, humans were given choice. And with choice came the possibility of harm. Pain is not proof that God hates the world. Pain is evidence that the world is fractured. Creation itself is described as groaning, not destroyed, not forgotten, but wounded. God does not cause every act of suffering. Much of it flows from human violence, injustice, and greed. Some suffering comes from natural decay in a fallen world, and some pain exists for reasons we cannot fully see. But here is what Scripture quietly insists. God is not distant from suffering. He is present within it. No story confronts suffering more directly than Job. Job was faithful. He was generous. He feared God. And yet, everything was taken from him. His health, his children, his future. Job demanded answers, and God did not explain the reason for his pain. Instead, God revealed his presence, and that is uncomfortable for us, because we want explanations. God often gives presence. Job's suffering was not a punishment. It was not proof of failure. It was not meaningless. It was a reminder that human vision is limited, while God's purposes extend beyond what we can measure in a moment. Joseph's story offers another angle. He was betrayed by his brothers, sold into slavery, falsely accused, forgotten in prison. For years, nothing made sense. But later, Joseph said words that echo through history. "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Joseph's suffering did not disappear, but it was transformed. Not all pain is immediately redeemed, but Scripture dares to say, some pain prepares the ground for something we cannot yet see. This is where Christianity becomes impossible to ignore. God does not remain distant from pain. He enters it. Jesus suffered hunger, betrayal, abandonment, injustice, and death, not because he deserved it, but because love chose proximity. On the cross, Jesus cried words that sound like every human cry. "My God, why have you forsaken me?" God does not silence the question. He speaks it through his own Son. That changes everything. Suffering is no longer proof that God is absent. It becomes the place where God has already been. Pain exposes what comfort hides. It strips illusions. It reveals dependency. It forces questions we avoid when life is easy. Suffering does not automatically make someone holy, but it makes honesty unavoidable. Many people do not lose faith because of pain. They lose faith because they were taught that faith would prevent pain. The Bible never promised immunity from suffering. It promised meaning beyond it. There are seasons when heaven feels quiet, prayers feel unanswered, hope feels delayed, and silence feels like abandonment. But silence is not neglect. Between promise and fulfillment, Scripture always places waiting. Abraham waited. David waited. Israel waited. Even Jesus waited. God's silence often protects a work that is still unfolding. The Bible frames suffering within a larger arc. Pain is real, but it is not final. Brokenness is present, but it is not permanent. Scripture points forward to restoration, to justice, to healing, to a future where tears are not ignored, but wiped away. Suffering, then, is not God's last word. Hope is. So if you are suffering right now, and heaven feels quiet, what if this silence is not rejection, but preparation? What if God is closer than you think, working beyond what you can see? If this question has lived in your heart, you are not alone. Share your thoughts below. This channel exists for honest questions, not perfect answers. And if this story resonated, stay with us, because the Bible still has more to say, especially to those who are hurting.